Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and I'm so thrilled today to be talking about the BET show Twenties. We are joined today by cast members Jojo T. Gibbs, Christina Elmore, and Gabrielle Graham. And Jojo, I wanted to start by actually talking about the physicality of your character, because she's got so much confidence and kind of almost a swagger to her in the way that you perform Hattie. And I really love watching those elements of the physical side of how you bring that confidence to life, and was interested in how you really found that side of her when you were developing her as a character and first filming scenes in season one.
Well, first and foremost, that's all me. I am the swag. So now I'm joking. She, Lena has swag. So that was kind of written into the character initially anyway. And also, I probably, have been inspired by people in my life. My stepfather, for instance, his nickname is Silk for, reasons I'm sure you can assume, like he's smooth, so his name is Silk. That's what we call him. And he's always been a cool dude, very energized, very confident. And, I'm sure I probably picked up some of his mannerisms. And also I was working with children at the time, right before I started shooting Twenties. And, I think for Hattie, having worked with kids and being able to see a multitude of personalities and different demeanors at once as a teacher, as a long-term substitute teacher, I kind of integrated, some of the things that I saw the kids do. Like, kids have swag. A lot of kids have so much energy and imagination now, and they have access to so many things on the internet that, they'll do something that'll surprise you sometimes. And I'm sure I probably imitated some of the things they did as well.
I love that. And Christina, almost on the opposite side of the spectrum with Marie, she's someone who's just holding everything so tightly within herself and really is trying to create order in a chaotic world. And the side of that I wanted to ask you about are those moments where she does kind of fall apart a little bit to build herself up, because it feels like she has to kind of let a lot more go in order to rebuild the pieces back together. And so when you first shaped her as a character, how did you want to find those moments where she kind of lets loose, lets things go a little bit, and the way that that's a real rebuilding process for her?
First of all, are you saying Marie don't have swag? Because if that's what you're saying. No, but she doesn't. So it's fine. No, I think you're right on it in that it is, I think of it sort of like a pressure, when the pressure gets too high in a pot and you have to sort of release a little bit, or otherwise things will bubble over. And I think she and I are very similar in that way, in that I can control anything. I can make anything happen and anything can go right if I just put my mind to it. But when things start to get chaotic and I start to feel like I'm losing that control, some things have to get let go. And I think Marie struggles with trying to figure out which of those things she can afford to let go before she loses control over everything. And so I really find those moments when she does kind of lose control and she does kind of fall apart, and who's seeing, who's not seeing, who's allowed in, who's not, to be really delicious and fun as an actor, even more so than the moments where she's pulling it all together tightly. I think because I need more myself of those sort of fall apart moments. So I get to experience them through her.
And Gabrielle, when it comes to Nia, it's been really fascinating to watch her relationship with fear of failure, and the way that at the beginning, that was something that was holding her back from pursuing what she wanted to creatively a little bit. And that's obviously something that even as you kind of overcome it, it never fully goes away, but it feels like it's less of a driving factor as a character. And so how have you viewed that journey and that trajectory and kind of the reestablishment of how it manifests in a different, more quiet way for her at this point in the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning of the story, she starts off like on a 10 because she books Coco's butter. And I think like, especially when you book something, you feel the best, you feel great, and like you can take anything on. And so I think like that drive to like prove to herself that she can make it, and prove to her family that she can make it, like helps her continue to push through those failures and give her a little bit more confidence to push through. And even though like each time, like every scene, there's like a little bit of deflation in her confidence, I think like her intention on like becoming an artist is more important. And I think at the end, I think she just realizes that like, even though she was so focused on living this, on attaining this dream, like she was actually already in it, because all of the stuff that she wanted was happening already. And I think all of those things happened for a reason. It was to help her realize that she was already living in the dream.
And for all three of you, having spent so much time building these relationships with your characters, but also the interpersonal dynamics with each other's characters, you've also had the gift of the amount of time that you've now spent filming together as well. And so how has the relationships that you've built off screen, the time that you spend together between filming, really evolved the way that you work together on screen, the way that you kind of show up for each other as scene partners, and the work in turn that you're able to bring to the table for one another?
You can go first, Christina.
Oh, you saw my little in-breath.
Yeah, you really had something to your tongue.
Talking about knowing each other really well.
I think what was so nice about working with Jojo and Gabby is that from the start, we felt really comfortable with each other and had a sort of instant chemistry off screen just from hanging out that translated on screen, I think. And I think there's so much, you're right, about the friendship dynamic. Feels really like these girls know each other, and so they know what buttons to push. They also know how to support each other. They know like when someone needs a little more help, a little more push, but when to step back. And I think we've gotten to know that for each other, and so it just makes it feel a little more authentic. So it was always there in the writing, but now I think it shows up in our mannerisms and in the way we touch each other, like physically touch each other in scenes. Feel more comfortable just sharing the space. I also think we just are able to do things in fewer takes as time has gone on, just because we understand our characters, the world of the show a bit more, but then also each other, and that Jojo's always going to have a button and she's always going to improv something that's going to be hilarious. And now I don't break as much when that happens because I know something good is coming. So things like that. And just sort of as we start to live in the world of the show and in the characters, it starts to feel more like home.
Yeah, I would completely agree with Christina. I think that initially I feel like we were so spoiled, from the casting experience. Everybody was so like gelled together, and like we didn't meet Gabby until we got to set pretty much. Well, no, we met each other at
we like hung out once.
Yeah, we hung out once, and the energy was just there. I was like, how did they know? Because we hadn't met Gabby at the chemistry read, but when we met her, it was just perfect. And I wish you lived closer. I mean, you live in a whole different country, but it's like same continent, different country. But I wish Gabby lived in LA. I don't know if Gabby wishes she lived in LA. So.
I do. Gabby's like, I'd like to be as far away as possible from
I would love to live in LA. I was going for
personal benefit. I want Gabby in LA.
I was gonna come to LA too, but then it didn't make sense for me. But I just think everyone's so down to earth. I love that everyone's so down to earth. And I was like so freaking nervous. And Christina and Jojo made me feel so comfortable. So I think the fact that everyone's real and like just honest and chill, I think it helps so much with the chemistry.
Yeah. It's one of those unicorn shows where there's no problem person. Like there's always somebody you're like, oh, it's so great working with such a thing. No, but like for us, I mean, the crew, the cast from top to bottom, there's no like problem, which is so rare.
Yeah, I feel like when we get back to shooting, it's like hanging out with friends from college, like there's no angst or like awkwardness, or it's just like we fall back into place. And that's what I really love about working with these two, as well as, everybody involved in the show. Like the overall energy of the show is really great, honestly.
Yeah.
It is, and that dynamic really comes across on screen. So I love hearing all of that. And Jojo, coming back to Hattie a little bit more, and that projection of everything's great, everything's fine, that exuberance of confidence. What I love about your performance is you do still allow for the cracks in the surface and the moments where even if she's not saying out loud, my career is not quite where I want it to be, or, I wish I had my own place, that we get that sense of that inner dialogue in her as a character. And so how do you find those kind of quiet moments and the ways that you really want to allow that to come to the surface a little bit in your performance, even if she's not expressing these things out loud as a character?
In regards to that, I just think I can really personally relate to Hattie in that, as I was pursuing my own career, it took I was broke. I was very, 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 very broke, and I had to still feel confident enough that this was where I was supposed to be and this is what I was supposed to do, even though things were crumbling and falling apart. But it was like crumbling, but all into place in a weird way. It's like if I don't know, like how, I don't know, mountains are made, I guess, like it's an erosion, or like, it's transitions happen, and through transitions there, it's no transition necessarily is going to be easy. So I think I had to build a confidence in myself that regardless of what obstacles I faced through the process of pursuing an acting career, that there was going to be, green acres on the other side. And so I think I had an easy time relating to Hattie in that, even when presumably nothing is going right, everything is going right, because when I look back on things now, and I'm sure Gabby and Christina can relate, a lot of the things that I at the time assumed to be failures ended up being like redirections in the right direction. And, I had to really, reflect on those things. And now I don't get frustrated by failure or no's, because I know it was the right no and it was the right, failure, I guess, So yeah, I could just really relate to Hattie finding happiness in the storm. My first 3 years in LA, I was very unsure, very poor, but I was still happy. Like I still, my apartment had no furniture. I had one pan. I had to cook everything one at a time. I got behind 3 months on rent one time, but nothing. Once you realize, and I think that's kind of something people have gone through in 2020, was realizing that you'll be okay. Yeah, the bills are due, but I'm alive. And, I don't have money to eat what I want necessarily, but I got money to eat. And, it was just things like that, like finding the silver lining a lot. And yeah, it's just, I guess I was able to seep that into the character.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Christina, kind of coming back to what you were talking about a little bit more with Marie as well, she spends so much time doing things that she thinks other people need her to do, and also being who she thinks other people need her to be in a regard as well. But then through the friendship side of things, you get to kind of explore that side where the veneer comes off in a really different way. And so it's really beautiful to watch that side of her. But as an actor, does that really allow you a lot of scope to really kind of almost build these two different sides of who a character is going to be, depending on which space they're in?
I think it was a good reminder as an actor that there's no character that doesn't have multiple facets of their personality that some people get to see and some people don't. I think it's easy, especially in a half hour, 30-minute situation, to feel like this character needs to be one thing all the time so that we all know who she is in the group. And I'm just really grateful for the writing of the show, that I didn't have to mine it all out myself or figure out how those little of when she's vulnerable and those peaks of when things aren't quite going right come out. It's there in the writing, and then I got to have fun and play and explore that. But it helped me keep in mind that there's no character I will ever play that we shouldn't sort of see that from. That we all put on a mask for work and for to build our career and whatever that is, and we all do that for certain people in certain places. And then who do we allow ourselves to be our full selves with? Is really an important question, I think, for anybody I ever play. And so it was nice to learn that with Marie and to sort of figure out the moments where she breaks. And it made it just more fun to do a little bit more, not be doing the same thing all day.
I really love that. And Gabrielle, one of the things that I'm always impressed at are the scenes and the moments where we're seeing you give a performance within a performance. So when Nia's, rehearsing lines at home or at a table read for a project, that's a performance of her as a character giving a performance of her playing another character. And you're also working with really small snippets of dialogue. It's not like you've got kind of a really broad context of what that scene is going to be, what that project's going to be. And so I was really fascinated in how you approach those particular moments, particularly because it's telling us as an audience so much about how she views herself creatively and the stories that she wants to tell, the way that she wants to express herself.
I think she just takes acting really seriously, and she takes like being prepared really seriously. So I think and that preparedness, I think automatically gives you more confidence. And so she wanted to come into that reading, like giving her best, and she did. And just because I can relate to it personally, like I know what it is to like drill the lines and like go over it in different like voices and like try this out, but then on the day it never comes out like the way that you imagined it to be. As confident as you are on that day. But yeah, and it was really fun. It was fun. I like that part where I was running the lines, like I literally said that same line like over and over and over again in different ways. It was really fun.
And in watching all of these three characters over the first couple of seasons as well, it's really beautiful to watch the evolution and watch the changes in them. And yet, if you watch the most recent episode and the first episode, they're still so true to each other as characters. And so it's really about those nuances rather than making them become new people, making them become completely different. And so how have all three of you really navigated that space of what are the nuanced and minute changes that they're making episode by episode, but still what are the main facets at their core that are still kind of always going to be there?
I don't know. I think everyone has like people just have essences. Like they have like this like personality or thing about them that can't be explained. And I think that's applied to characters too. Like there's an essence about that character. And I think the nuances come from for Nia specifically, it comes from those little failures that like Jojo was saying before, like kind of redirect or like change her for the better. And I think it only makes her, it brings her character out more, those little things that happen without the show.
I love that the writers in second season took an opportunity to show a different side to Hattie and a few other characters that shows the complexities of people's personalities. Like we're all layered people, and a lot of times the way that we are, especially as adults, is due to circumstances that we've experienced throughout our lives. And I know that touching on Hattie dealing with her father, I think that could explain a few things from first season, and her relationship with her mother, her relationship with love. Chuck and Marie's relationship, I'm sure some things are explained, through Chuck's experience and coming out. And yeah, it's like, I think that, once you read the words on the page, it's kind of like as actors, we just adjust, and give the character whatever it is that they're trying to portray in that moment to the best of our ability, to the best of my ability, But I do love the fact that they showed Hattie more emotional in terms of like in touch with her feelings a little bit more this season, just because even though you are funny, goofy, oftentimes, that friend that is the life of the party or the funny or goofy or clumsy one, they deal with things too. And sometimes that's their shield, to the world. So I think it's dope that they show the complexities more of the characters throughout the seasons.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the other things that I want to talk about is actually the theme of conflict in the show, because in actuality, it's so refreshing that it is a show about female friendship and it's not driven by conflict between them. And when there's moments of conflict, it's about a situation and a moment. It's not actually about the relationship between them. So even if it's Marie saying to Hattie, like, hey, you can't stay at my place anymore, this just isn't working, that's about the situation in the moment. It's not because they're having a disagreement as people even. And how have you all approached those moments where there is kind of conflict, which there needs to be for any story, family, but making sure that it always comes from a place of situation versus it ever being about the characters kind of sparring with one another.
I think that is really realistic in terms of the kinds of friendships that I have. I can't remember the last time I had a blowout with a friend that made us not friends anymore. Of course, there are times, you kind of grow apart and it sort of fades. But I think as we've gotten older, these are adult women who care about each other and love each other and have a really strong history and bond. And the reason that they're so close is because they've been able to navigate situational conflict in a way that keeps them together. And so the idea that suddenly we meet them in a TV show and we're meeting them at their worst moment when all of them are fighting, there's no way they could be friends. It just doesn't make sense. And every time I've seen that in a show, I've always been like, then how are they friends this long? If their personalities just don't mesh, that doesn't make any sense. And so I love that these three women are not women that you might even think would be friends, but then as you get to know them, you see that there's a bond and a love that can't be easily shaken by, somebody not putting the toilet seat down or cleaning up after themselves in the house or not getting the job you want. And that when there is conflict, we get to see them love each other through it. And yeah, you can't stay on my couch no more and you're being real trifling right now, but I still love you. So meet me at this diner real quick. And yeah, I don't know what's going on and why you haven't spoken to me about what's going on in your life, but I'm gonna keep asking because I love you. And I think that just feels like the kind of friendships I have. And I love that we're seeing three Black women love each other and show up for each other and not be fighting over some dude or some anything. It's really refreshing.
Yeah, I think the relationship between the three of them exemplifies like that transition from like friends to family, like you consider like how you would treat a family member. You might be a mother that kicks their son out, but that's still your son and that's still your mother and you still gonna have a relationship, but maybe you just can't be here for now, or whatever the case may be. Or, I think that once you get to a point of sisterhood, it is deeper than, we just don't deal with each other anymore. I mean, I think it takes a lot in terms of like, once you get to a level of like, I consider you family, to completely detach yourself from someone for something, there are reasons why you shouldn't talk to people, like there are boundaries that you should create, but there are levels, and I don't think that any of them would do anything that would constitute them not speaking anymore, just because when you have history with people, they're like their character, you should, I would hope that you would know their character and that you would trust that even if they're having a moment of swaying to the left or the right off of their usual path, that they would come back. And you as well may need to reflect on yourself. I think it's, like any other partnership. So I'm glad that they show that yeah, you can't stay at my house, but that don't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean that I don't want us to be friends or, whatever the case may be. So I love that they show that dynamic, that friendship ain't, white or Black. It's like, colorful and it's, it's complicated.
Mm-hmm. And it can last if I think if it's rooted in honesty and like giving each other the hard truths. I know like I do that within my friendships too. And I feel like when there's drama and conflict, there's usually like something there's something hidden or something like not talked about that no one wants to discuss. But when you're like being fully transparent and honest with each other, I think it's harder to like be consumed in drama because everything's just already out there.
And with that idea of sisterhood and family as well, the same way that within your own family, there's traits and characteristics that you develop because of the way that your parents are with you. There's things that you pick up from your siblings. For these three characters, with the amount of time that they've spent being as close as they are as well, I was interested for each of you in what are aspects or traits that you've brought into your character that you feel like they developed as a result of this friendship and pieces that they're taking from one another.
Good question.
Well, I mean, I think Hattie has taken, she's matured, I know for sure her getting an agent, that was, through the encouragement of Marie and, dealing with her issues with love is Nia, so I think that she definitely is fertilized through them in ways that allow her to grow and, you know, develop different perceptions, and also I think Marie is that friend that like pisses you off to the point where you want to show, but you also appreciate them pushing you. You know, it's like that teacher that you didn't like most of the year, then they end up being your favorite teacher. You know, it's like, I really love the fact that you love me enough to push me hard. And then Nia is the teacher that was just sweet. Just sweet. It's just, thank you for being kind. It's sweet. I love it. And we all need that friend too. I think, you know, if I had to point out my two friends like that, my friend Rashonda is the sweet one. My friend Salita is the blunt. Like, I love you, and that's why I'm telling you the truth, and I'm gonna be honest. But we have also had to be like, look, it's the way you say things sometimes. But it's all coming from a good place, you know, and both of those people help you grow and develop. So I think that's what Hattie gets from those two characters.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I can't.
Oh, so we haven't had no influence? Okay.
Yeah, you like Nia is grounded. Nia
don't need nobody.
She has nothing to work on. She's just a perfect human being.
Nia said, I got my crystals. I don't need you. Nah, but for real though, you don't really no. Let me think.
What do you think? What do you tell me? What do you think?
More so first season. I don't know. I think Nia needed help with her confidence, and you know, she probably that filtered through from Marie and Hattie. Mm-hmm. But if you don't agree, then you know that's.
Oh, I agree.
No, whatever your perspective is.
I totally see that.
Okay.
Yeah, the encouragement of that encouragement from Tristan too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the second season, Nia flourishes and is confident and it's like, I'm here, you know? So I do think that. And then Marie, Christina, sorry, I'm about to take your spotlight.
In so many ways. No, but I think you see Nia encouraging Marie to calm down, to like cool her chakras down. And you see Hattie's confidence in literally going the wrong direction in so many ways and somehow making it to the end of the race. Marie just doesn't understand that. I think that she literally can't look at Hattie and be like, how are you finding success? How are you okay? How are you not crying yourself to sleep? And I think that kind of confidence is what she thinks she has, but she doesn't. So she sees it in Hattie and really envies it and tries to incorporate it.
Yeah, I think second season, Chuck really influences Marie too, to be who she wants to be, you know. I think like Marie is like a good example of someone who, you know, feels like they have to follow the rules, you know, and when Chuck kind of breaks the rules in terms of like, you know, not following along with what he feels like he should be out loud in society, I think that really did encourage Marie. And we'll see where that leads in third season, but like, you know, I think it encouraged her to be more loose and more free. You know, I mean, we'll see. I don't know what's gonna happen with Marie, but I would say from the end of season 2, that seemed like she took a lot of the cues from Chuck.
Well, I can't wait to see where all of these characters go individually and through their relationships with one another into the next season. Thank you so much to all three of you for sharing all of this today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.